Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Georgiana. I'm excited to be with you because this is one of the topics that I really struggled with, um, maybe even most of my life. I was kind of looking at that this morning in my meditation, that just how much of my life I've felt like a complete fraud. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I think probably a lot of people's, to be honest. When you've done everything right and you still feel like a fraud. So, raise your hand if that's for you. Because, honestly, there is nothing more exhausting than winning on paper. You've done all the good things, you've done it right, you've done all that, but you're doubting yourself, like behind closed doors. You feel like, I don't know what the big buzz is that everybody are talking about. So, if you're anything like me, you've done the right things, you've checked all the boxes, you built the career or the business, you've raised little humans, maybe even have a really thriving business, and yet you still have that sinking feeling like you're one wrong move away from being found out. And like maybe none of it really counts because you don't feel like you count. And so it's something that for a lot of us women of a certain age have discovered, because we kind of grew up in that age where and to some degree it probably still exists this way, where women are lesser, good girls just don't say anything, be polite. Um, so we kind of we were born into that conversation of how women should be. So, but here's the thing, success doesn't silence the voice. You know, as we learn to be quiet in everything and then we make this successful business or life and do all the right things, right? There's still this voice in our head, right? But success doesn't silence that voice. It may make it a little bit sneakier, right? That internal whisper, like, who do you think you are? It doesn't whisper, it doesn't disappear when you achieve something. It just evolves like you do. It sounds like maybe things like, it won't last, they're going to figure me out. I'm going to find out that I'm not all that they think I am. And even that inside feeling like I should be farther along. I should have accomplished more. I should, it's filled with shoulds. So imposter syndrome isn't a lack of capability. Hmm. It's maybe a good way to say it is, an over identification with that inner self doubt, that whisper of self doubt that is within all of us. And especially in women who are raised to perform, achieve, and never be too much. Don't be extra, right? Especially in the corporate world, fighting up that ladder, but also being told not to be too much. So, um, one of the things when I was in the corporate world, I was a very successful sales manager for an international company. And, I left that job and I was always performed. We had, I don't know, many centers around the world. And, I was in the top three centers in around the world in performance in all the measurable results, which was awesome. But who I was for myself was like, are you talking about me? Because that's not. And I found out later that the people who followed me in that same position were always held up to the standards that I had attained. And when I look back on that, it was like shocking to me because that wasn't who I was for myself. So it really is this inner whisper, this over identification with the self doubt that doesn't allow you to even be with the level of accomplishment that you have had. That Now, the second thing is that we wear this mask of competence, and it can be heavy AF. We've trained ourselves to look confident while just kind of a low key questioning everything. Praise uh, comes in, and we may be thank you, thank you, thank you, but it doesn't really stick, right? Because inside you're questioning that whole thing. You're leading, you're serving, you're delivering, you're doing all the things, but it doesn't feel like you are really accomplishing anything substantial or special, even though people are telling you how amazing you are. The problem isn't the lack of confidence, it's a lack of congruence. The outer you is polished, but the inner you is quietly unraveling. So, it last year in my dark night of the soul that I keep talking about when I turned 60 and looking back on my life and like, is this it? This isn't what I thought. Over the last several months, I've actually been looking at where I have worn this mask of everything's okay, but also having to go back and look at my accomplishments and actually own what they were. That for all those years that I was being successful, that I've been successful and have accomplished all these things, and people have said, all these wonderful things with awards and, all the stuff that comes with that, and still diminishing myself like it was somehow not me doing that, or if they just found out, wait until they find out, right? So it's this quiet unraveling that as you go through, that you start to notice and acknowledge yourself for what it is that you have accomplished and be able to remove this mask and be seen maybe not just by others, because oftentimes people have been seeing you and you haven't been seeing yourself. So when you remove the mask that you think you need to wear, because that imposter syndrome, the feeling like a fraud and covering up because everything's okay on the outside but not so much on the inside, it's removing the mask to be seen. Maybe it's for yourself. So there is this disconnect that we have within ourselves, that this I keep calling it a quiet whisper, but sometimes it's not really a whisper, right? Sometimes it's yelling at you, like, who do you think you are? It's like this being fragmented, right? You're out there in the world in your business or with your family, and you've had the success in your business or your job. But then on the inside, you're not that. And so there's a lot of conflict that happens with this imposter that from the inside causes a lot of angst and, heartbreak, honestly. I mean, that's really how it was for me. It was like heartbreaking that I didn't feel seen because I didn't have that congruence between how people saw me and how I saw myself. So, and so I invite you just to kind of lean into this. See if there's any place in your life where you have done this. Downplaying compliments. Somebody says, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing." And you're like, "Oh yeah, well thanks, I could have done this better," or, thanks so much. And on the inside you're going, I don't know, they're just being nice, right? But downplaying the compliments that people give you, all right? That's one way to notice that inner conflict, okay? Here's another one. Constant over preparing, like you have prepared and then you prepared again and then you prepared again. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with preparation, but when it drives you to be able to be perfect, that you're doing over preparing because you've got to look good on the outside, keep it all together because you don't want to be found out as the fraud that you think you are. So that's another hint, okay? The other one is you're thinking that you're the exception to the praise that you receive. It's like, oh, well, yeah, that was just a one-time thing, or, you know, they're just being nice because, right? There's some exception that you have around it. Another hint to feeling like a fraud. So a lot of this is just uncovering, right? Naming it, noticing it, bringing it to light. Now, the next thing is we're programmed to doubt ourselves. And this, for a lot of women in midlife, this is just, this is the conversation that we were born into, right? And it's, you got to be modest, right? We're programmed to doubt ourselves and we call it modesty. So let's be real. Many women were raised in the environments where being proud equals being arrogant. It's very different for men and women. We were born into this. So you were taught maybe to earn your worth and maybe just wait until you're chosen. Imposter syndrome, it isn't your fault. It's a natural response to being conditioned to minimizing yourself. And we have many women have been taught and conditioned to minimize ourselves. So there's nothing now to fix. It's about deprogramming, or what I call repatterning the noise. It's a conscious repatterning of the noise. So what if the version of you that's doubting yourself isn't actually you? What if she's just the echo of everything that you've been told to believe? Like, what if? Just kind of let that sink in. And, if doubting you is the you that's doubting you, is just actually not you. She's just an echo of everything that you've learned, you've been told to believe, that you were born into. Maybe it was cultural, maybe it was from your family, maybe it was education, culture. So maybe it's just the echo of everything that you were told to believe. And now here's the thing, confidence isn't the goal either. Owning who you are, owning what you've accomplished, owning how amazing you are, owning even your flaws. You don't need to feel like a badass every moment. You just need to own your brilliance, even when that doubt shows up. Even when you make a mistake, there's brilliance in that. Owning your brilliance, your brightness, your humanness, your exceptional results, and your failures. It's about being responsible for your life and how you show up. You don't have to be a badass all the time. You just need to own who you are. You're brilliant. You're beautiful. You're amazing. There is nothing to diminish there. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've accomplished. You are amazing. So that shift isn't about getting rid of the imposter. It's about leaning into it. It's about leading anyway. It's about owning what you're up to. It's your awesomeness. It's who you are. And if you can't lean into that, if you can't own it, if you can't shine light on all of you, there's a missing within yourself, almost a light in your heart that is dimmed. And when you can own your own value, you can stop asking for permission, and you can fully and completely love every bit of yourself. Every bit. So being able to engage with these ideas and these thoughts that we all have is an opportunity to empower yourself, to love yourself, and to see the brilliance that you are. You know, whether you've made $1 trillion or whether you're barely getting by, it doesn't matter, because who you are is a brilliant, amazing, extraordinary woman who has maybe listened to the thoughts and the fears that you've been programmed by that aren't real, and you believe that they are. So you put this heavy mask. It's just heavy as, yeah, AF, as they say, right? It's heavy. It's burdensome, because if you're doing all the right things, and even if you're not doing all the right things, but you're getting by, this weight of feeling like you've got to show the world you're okay, but inside that whisper, sometimes it's not even a whisper, sometimes that yell is opposite that. So learning how to give yourself some grace and starting to repattern your conscious beliefs, but you have to first start to name them. So here's my challenge to you. And I just did this myself, where you start to look at, maybe sit quietly and ask yourself, where have I been successful? What have I done? What are the beliefs that I have about myself? Where did they come from? Are they really mine? And how is that belief keeping me safe? So start to journal about it and start to look at the whisper or that inner knowing that you have that maybe is not yours. Ask that question. All right, everybody, thank you for being part of me. I'd love to hear anything you'd like to share in the comments. DM me, whatever you want. I am here for you. I'm all about it.